I worked the late shift at a bar on the outskirts of Liverpool, not far from the old docks, just off a quiet road most people only use when they're trying to leave the city quickly. The bar itself is nothing special. Low ceilings, sticky floors, no matter how often we mop. In the corner there's an old jukebox that's been stuck on the same record since before I was born. The regulars know one another by name, dock workers, taxi drivers, the odd lorry driver passing through, and once in a while a tourist who's wandered too far from the city centre and found themselves in need of a quick drink. I don't mind it, the work's predictable, the tips are decent, you learn quickly how to read people, the talkers, the flirters, the ones who drink quietly, and the ones who just want to be left alone. During the week though, I work the night shift alone, with no barback, no second staff member popping in and out, just me, the cameras and the hum of the fridge behind the bar. I noticed him immediately. It was just after 1 a.m, it was a Tuesday. The door opened and the bell gave its tired little jangle. I looked up, expecting another regular. Instead, I saw him. If I had to guess, I'd say late 40s, immaculately groomed, clean shaven. He wore a black turtleneck beneath a long black coat, not flashy, just expensive. The sort of outfit you don't expect to see in a place like this. He moved with a quiet confidence, his posture straight, his eyes alert but calm. He looked around the bar slowly, as if taking stock of everything. Then he walked straight over and sat down. He ordered a top-shelf whiskey without hesitation. As I poured it, he asked me if I liked working here. It was a harmless enough question. I smiled and said I did, and made a small joke about the perks of late shifts. He smiled back, polite, warm and disarming. Nothing about him felt overtly threatening. If anything, he gave off the impression of someone respectable, the sort of man you'd trust without questioning why. We chatted for a bit. He asked about Liverpool, about the bar and about me. Then after a pause that lingered a little too long, he asked if I'd ever thought about doing something bigger with my life. That question caught me off guard. I gave him my standard barmaid smile and said I was happy working here. He nodded, took a sip of his drink, and for just a moment his expression faltered. Disappointment maybe. Then he asked what time I finished. That's when something shifted. I gave him a vague answer, deliberately non-committal, and busied myself wiping down the counter. He didn't push, he simply smiled as if he already knew. He drained his glass and placed a £50 note gently on the bar, and left without another word. I told myself it was nothing. Still, I couldn't shake that feeling that I'd just stepped slightly out of sync with something I didn't understand. A week later he came back, but this time he wasn't alone. The woman with him drew my attention immediately. Mid-30s maybe, stylish but in a way that felt forced, like she was wearing someone else's idea of youth. Her smile was wide and eager, never quite reaching her eyes. As they approached the bar, she leaned in close, far too familiar for my liking. "You're gorgeous," she said brightly, her fingers brushing my arm and lingering just a second too long. I laughed politely, but every instinct of my body was on edge. The man didn't speak at all. They ordered drinks, and as I poured them, the woman started asking questions. How long I'd worked there, how old I was, whether I liked late nights. Her tone was casual, but her eyes were sharp, assessing. At one point she glanced at the man and something passed between them, a silent understanding that made my stomach tighten. She leaned closer, lowering her voice. "I run an exclusive events club," she said. "Private parties, very selective. We're always looking for young, fun people." She smiled wider. "You could earn 10 grand in a weekend." I forced a laugh and told her it sounded too good to be true. Her smile never wavered. "It's completely safe," she said, "very exclusive." Then as casually as if she was asking for another drink, she said, "Why don't you step outside? Someone can explain it better." My pulse spiked. "I'm good," I said firmly. At that exact moment a group of customers came in, laughing, loud. The woman's expression slipped. Just for a second, and without another word, she and the man left. I told my boss and told the other staff about this strange encounter. We all agreed to keep an eye out, but there wasn't much else we could do. A few nights later, after closing, I saw a car parked across the street, engine off, lights out. I tried to convince myself it was nothing. Still, the sensation of being watched crawled over my skin as I walked to my car. keys clenched between my fingers. When I pulled out, the car followed. Every turn I took, it stayed behind me, trying not to draw attention, but close enough to make my chest tighten. Panicking, I drove straight to the nearest police station. The moment I pulled in, the car sped away. Then came the night I nearly didn't make it home. It was another slow weekday shift, nearly midnight. I was wiping down the bar when the door creaked open. It was her. I texted my boss immediately. She sat down, hands folded neatly, that same artificial smile plastered on her face. "I thought I'd check on you," she said. I told her we were closing, but she said, "Can I just have one drink?" I turned to pour it and heard the front door click shut. When I spun around, she was gone. I looked over towards the window and I saw it, a black van, engine running, just outside. Then I heard a loud sound coming from the back door, metal rattling. It was someone or something trying to force it open. I ran quickly and locked the front door and grabbed the nearest thing I could, a heavy bottle, and then I called the police. I was bracing myself for the worst when the headlights suddenly flooded the car park. It was my boss. The noise from around the back stopped instantly, and I heard the van screech away. Soon after, the police arrived and reviewed the security footage. It was worse than I'd imagined. 2 dark figures could be seen crouching by the front door, another at the back, pounding, trying to drive me straight into the waiting figures. The number plate my boss had taken off the fleeing van was unregistered, and unfortunately, there were no arrests and the police had no leads. The one good thing to come out of this experience is that I don't work late night shifts alone anymore. But sometimes when I look up at night, I still feel it. That quiet certainty that if I'd have run out the front door like they wanted, someone would have been waiting for me.